Good morning and welcome to the Boise Bus Sunday Blether. I'm your host, David Logue, and as you can see, I've got two of my three compadres with me today. I've got Mr. Friday Night, Mr. Bustalgia, Phil McGinley. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. All set for another dignified Sunday Blether, as we say now on here. That is the buzzword on here. But yeah, it's another eventful one. It's the start of the pre-season. We thought we'd have a nice quiet pre-season. We'd start maybe doing a few less shows during the week. We'd maybe limit the time by 45 minutes. It's kind of wind down during the pre-season. But my God, every minute you turn around, something's going on at Celtic, and it's not always good news. And yeah, some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, sadly, it's not looking too good in terms of some of these stories. But we will tackle it head on, mate. That's what we do here on the Sunday Blether.
That's it, mate. And of course, we can't do that without the face that runs the place, Mr. Regan Stevenson. How you doing, my man? You good? Please don't hurt me.
Please. To be on, it's good to be on. It was nice to be on with Johnny Logue the other night, and it's good to be on with David today. So it's good to be on this Sunday morning.
We've got a truce. I've seen the TNF, you cheeky bastard. I watch the other shows. I hear and see everything. And before we get discussing today's show, guys, you might know that you might see that Mark is not with us today. The judge, rumour has it, according to Fabrizio Romano, that Mark has been offered 195 million Brazilian pounds to feature on a Saudi Arabian show. Discussions ongoing. Hopefully we can keep the judge here, but money talks and all that. I think what really happening is I believe Mark is still on his holiday and is on his way back, so we'll see him hopefully next week.
Yeah,
but let's get into all that good stuff, guys. So hit that subscribe button, give us a like and a share, slag our hair, hit that bell for notifications that the bus is on its way. 44 seconds into the intro there, my phone lit up there to tell me that I was about to appear on screen, so you get a couple of seconds to get ready and jump on. If you're a wee bit late, it'll pop up on your phone and you'll be able to jump on, or get it on your telly if you watch it on your smart TV. Become a Boise Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. All our content is free. There is no extra. It's just a way that you can support the bus, get it in for its service, keep the wheels turning. Now remember, guys, the season may be over, but that doesn't mean that the orders have to stop. piesports.com, 12.5% off your order at the checkout with the code BUS1888. And of course, Phil,
yes.
Did you hear about the new medicine for erectile dysfunction?
No, I did not, David. Tell me more.
It's called My Cock's a Flopping.
David.
I'm here, guys, every Sunday at 11 o'clock. Talking about erectile dysfunction. If you're around central Scotland, they offer free same-day delivery service 7 days a week. And if you and for the rest of the UK, they aim for next-day delivery. Order cut off at 6 p.m. There's no hidden fees. The prices are what you see, unless, of course, you put BUS10 at the checkout for 10% off. That'll be enough of the crappy dad jokes, I promise. That was awful, guy. My cock's a flopping, dear. Yes, Alistair, I do sound like I'm loaded with a cold, mate. It's just been allergic to summer, mate. That's all it is. It's still the old hay fever's kicking my ass again this morning. I'm not good in the mornings, mate, but here we are. Alistair, you asked if people's Twitter is working. Well, Phil, do you want to just let everyone know what is actually going on Twitter and why you might not have seen some of your tweets this morning?
Yeah, Elon Musk just basically went on a mad one yesterday. So you may have noticed, that yesterday, when about midday, everyone's Twitter feeds began saying something like limit reached or something like that. And it was like, well, what is this? What's going on here? So apparently there's been some kind of security problems at Twitter in the last few days, and they've decided to put something in to tackle it just now. But instead of doing the smart thing as the owner of Twitter, Elon Musk didn't feel compelled to tell the world that uses this app that, by the way, we're going to be bringing this in. It just happened, and then he put a tweet out saying, oh yes, if you're a verified account, you can now view 6,000 tweets a day. If you're unverified, 600 tweets a day. And if you're a new account, 400. So it came across that it looked like he was basically saying You want to use Twitter now? You better pay for a verified account. And yeah, it turns out it's some sort of security issue. I was reading it on like CNN's website last night, and yeah, it's just Elon Musk just doing stupid things again. So Twitter is a bit of a dumpster fire just now. I did on the Boise Bus Twitter account about half an hour before we went on tweet out that, hey, we're live at 11 a.m. So hopefully people saw it. I genuinely don't know. If your limit has been reached for the day, then you might not have seen it. So hopefully people have seen that. But yeah, basically Elon Musk and his team of merry men are making a complete mess of it once again. So hopefully in the next few days we get some sort of clarification of what happens, because I am not paying for Twitter on the monthly basis. If that's what he wants, I am not doing it. No chance.
No, bring back Bebo. That's what me and Riga were saying. Bring back Bebo.
Bring back Bebo.
MySpace, there you go. Get MySpace back. Come on.
Yeah, that's it. Get MySpace back. Yeah, exactly. Oh God, what a website that was. Deary me. Anyway, let's get on. Let's not go down that route. All right.
No,
You'll get me on a
rabbit hole there.
Oh yeah, keep that for Bustalgia.
Yeah,
Bustalgia, the MySpace years.
Yes, indeed.
Right, guys, let's get on with our blethering. There is only one topic of discussion: Jota to Saudi. Now, Fabrizio Romano has revealed that the finishing touches are being put on a transfer that will take Jota to the Middle East next week, with the 24-year-old already saying yes to moving. He tweeted, Al Ittihad have prepared documents and contracts for Jota to join the club next week. The player has already accepted work in progress between clubs, with Celtic for Jota to join the likes of Kante and Benzema at Al Ittihad. And then this morning around 7:30, he also updated us with this tweet here. If you want to bring it up on screen for me, Phil.
Yes, there he is. Fabrizio, there we go.
Here we go. I understand Al Ittihad coach Nuno has already spoken to Jota about his transfer considered imminent and is set to be completed next week. Fee is going to be around 30 million euros. Discussions ongoing. Here we go, guys. Here we go. So, Regan, I'm going to start with you, mate. Is this the right move to be selling Jota? That's the first question I want to know. Is this the right move? 30 million euros, works about around about 25 million pounds. Is this the right move?
I think it is for Celtic. I'm being selfish. I think, good luck to Jota. He's done well, but we need to think about Celtic here. And I think to get a player for 25 million quid, I think it's great business. Is what Celtic should do as a club. Me, Mark, and yourself, David said this 12 months ago. We're talking about Celtic. We need to do some sort of thing like Ajax doing stuff, because at the end of the day, this is how Celtic do their model. This is what Brendan wanted, and this is what the board wants. So, yeah, I think it's a good move. 24 years old, and he's getting life-changing money, 10 grand a year, 10 million a year, sorry. So, yeah, all he needs now is a bit of a should I stay or should I go now? And I think in terms of Jota, he probably should go, because he's won the treble, he's done well, and now he's got a big opportunity to play with two of the best players in world football for the past couple of years, in goal, Kante and Benzema at Real Madrid. So, no, I think as much as it pains me to say it, thank you, Jota, but yeah, I think it's a good move for the club, because I have full trust in Brendan Rodgers, because if it was Neil Lennon that was bringing them in, I wouldn't have full trust because of John Joe Kenny and Diego Laxalt and stuff. But when you look at Brendan, I think Brendan's got that the gravitas to bring in the right type of players, and I think this is what Brendan wants. Brendan wants reinvestment in the club, and I think the two players that we can't afford to lose, David, is Vickers and Rio Hatate. So I think if you're looking at it, they're probably the two things that Brendan's saying the same as me, because I think Rio Hatate has been a very good player for Celtic, and the same with Cameron Carter-Vickers. I mean, we've seen that when Vickers got injured for with 10 games to go. Celtic were just not the same team.
I've seen a comment there from Patrick McLaughlin. He said there's no way he's getting 10 million a year. And And then he goes on to say, because Kanté and Benzema are getting that, doesn't mean Jota is. I'm afraid to tell you, Patrick, that Benzema is understood to be getting around 200 million per season. So, I mean, when you put it into that perspective, I think 100 million is actually it's probably cheap in there, over there, which is mental. I mean, although I do know what you're getting at, Patrick, because as we've seen in all media outlets, I mean, even what Brendan was apparently going to be getting offered in terms of length of contract and stuff, it turned out it wasn't as long. You know, they were talking about 5-year contract, he was given a 3-year. So it maybe is an exaggeration. It might not be 100 million altogether. 10 million a season. However, it's still obviously, as we know, going to be a hell of a lot more than what Celtic can offer. My question to you though, Phil, and I want you to be totally honest with me, mate. Like, let's take off our Celtic tinted glasses. Is Jota at the moment?
I'll take off my glasses. I've not been on screen without my glasses for quite a while. I used to do it at very first because I didn't have to read the comments. But now, because I've got control of comments, I need to have them on, else I can't read shit. So I'll put them back on.
I'll let you tell you, but you can put them back on there, right? Is Jota at the moment, is he worth £25 million? And is that why Celtic are willing to sell him right now? Because maybe he isn't worth that yet. And I'm not saying he is not. I'm not putting out my personal opinion of that yet. I'm only asking, is he worth 25 million as it stands right now?
I think with the way football's went over the last few years before all this Saudi stuff happened, player values have gone up. You know, what was 25 million back in the year 2000? You know, it was like 25 million was the best player in the world. You know, at that time, you know, guys like Figo and Zidane and stuff were all moving for between going up to 50 million was the record in like 2001. So nowadays, 25 million is effectively in the bigger, the grand scale of things, or the big leagues, it's chump change essentially. So is he worth 25 million? I would say so, yeah. I think looking at the potential, the boy's got to go on. But yeah, from Celtic's point of view, it's a deal that if that's genuinely what's on the table right now, we're not in any position to knock that back because the league we find ourselves playing in. So yeah, I do think he is worth it, and in a few years he'll probably be worth it again. But it's the old saying as well, but he's only worth what a club's willing to pay for him. That applies to every player. Yeah, every player. And if they are willing to pay that, then by all means, I guess he is worth it. But because of the way football's went in the last few years with the crazy transfer fees, it's hard to gauge nowadays, you know, what is good value and whatnot. So you know,
I think it comes down to this here, Phil. I think this comes down to a lot of it, the 4 years remaining on his contract. And I'm trying to rack my brain back to Keiran Tierney, because obviously he was the last player that was sold for 25 million. How long was left on Keiran Tierney's contract before he moved to Arsenal? Can you remember? Regan, do you know? Anyone in the comments? Do you know? How long?
3 years, because I think he signed a 5-year contract the year before, maybe, did he, Phil?
I think he'd signed a multi-year contract not too long before it. He definitely wasn't in the last year of his contract or anything like that. There's no way we would remember that one. He definitely had a few years left anyway. And
he signed a 5-year contract. See, after we won the treble against Aberdeen, he signed a 5-year contract. So
here's what I think, right? See if this was, say, I don't know, just any Premier League club, a mid-table Premier League club, Tottenham. Let's just say Ange comes in for Jota, and he wants to buy him for Spurs. I think 25 million. Yes, you 100% take it, because it's the Saudis, and because we know how cash rich they are. I don't see why Celtic aren't trying to pull their parts down. I don't understand why they're not going at the very least 30 million. We want to break our transfer record for selling a player. I mean, for God's sake, we're going to get more from Frimpong's sale altogether than anybody that was sold in the past. So that if you've got a player who's like the former commenter said that I had brought up. I'm sorry, I forgot your name already. I do apologise. And said he's at his peak. He's at his peak. And 4 years left of his contract.
Yep.
He is probably one of our, if not best selling asset at the minute. Why aren't we going, right, okay, Saudi Arabia, you're willing to pay this man £10 million a year. Well, if you can afford to do that for a 5-year contract or whatever it is that you're offering him, you can certainly afford to give us at least £30 million. Because the 30 million euro sounds amazing, but when you break it into sterling, it is around about 25.5 million pounds.
Yeah, but
I would expect that, after selling Tierney 3 years ago, if we're going to be selling one of our best performing players, one of our most exciting players to play in the league in years, I'd expect a little bit more. But I can totally understand why Celtic are just willing to.
I do understand the point, David, but I mean, from Saudis looking at Scottish football, they're probably looking at it going, right, what can we offer that's good business for Celtic, and also we're not taking the piss as well. Do you know what I mean? Because they're probably looking at it going, right, who's Jota playing at the moment? He's playing at Inverness, Califistle was his last game.
Yeah, but Regan, until they start signing all these other boys, who's he playing it in Saudi Arabia? But, obviously we know Ronaldo's out there. We know that Benzema and Kante are going to be playing with him, as well as Neves. Apart from that, name me a player in the Saudi Arabian league that's you could go, unbelievable player. We said it on the TNF. Well, Phil said it on the TNF. So these Saudi Arabian boys, we go, how the hell have I ended up playing alongside Benzema?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a bit like, well, if you're thinking, well, if we buy this Jota, he's going to improve our league. Well, that's fine, but you're going to have to pay for it. I don't get me wrong. I'll be gutted to see Jota leave. However, the way I see it is, if we get £25 million for a player, so long as it's being reinvested into the transfer kitty. And here's the question, Regan. I asked you this morning. I wanted you to save it for today. There's a supposed £30 million transfer kitty that Brendan Rodgers was promised, as far as we're aware, that's been put out there on the media. Was that there before Jota's sale, or the potential Jota sale, or is Celtic known for a little while now that Nuno Santos, whatever his name is, has been tapping up Jota? Have they known for a while and went, well, listen, Brendan, that's your 30 million. We can guarantee you 30 million because we're selling Jota in the summer, but we're going to allow you to spend all of that? Or is that £25 million going to be added to the £30 million kitty? What was there first?
David, I think this is coming out of the blue, this Saudi thing. But I do think you're bang on me at one point that I do think Celtic were saying to Brendan that they're probably going to sell one big asset. Do you know, I get that point, but I think the Saudi thing was probably out of the blue. I think they probably thought they might sell a Bada for, like, say, 15 million. I don't think they were thinking they would sell Jota.
Okay.
Especially the way that, and I think Jota was and got his heart set on staying at Celtic, because if you actually look at it, Jota was put out to Ange Postecoglou a few weeks ago, said it was a pleasure working with him, and he's happy to be at Celtic on his Instagram a few weeks ago. So I don't think that Jota was looking to go, and I just think sometimes in life, sometimes you get these opportunities to just pop up.
I mean, he's only 24 years old, Phil. I mean, he can go over there, make his millions in one or two seasons, and then, if he's seen as a success over there, there's nothing stopping him coming back to Spain, England.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as this whole carry on that it's he's thrown his career away. I mean, I'm sure it will dry his eyes with all the millions, and then,
yeah,
he'll be all right. And like 2 seasons out there, he comes back at 26, 27 in his peak, and if he's absolutely torn up out there enough that against the likes of all these other Premier League players and other players that are going to be moving out there, I think he'll do all right, and he'll come back over an absolute millionaire, and may even end up at you never know, Liverpool, just for throwing a name out there, So I think it's for let's just be serious here, right? I'd go.
Well, that money, yeah. I don't
Well,
think anyone's going to knock that back.
Anyway, and this is what I want to bring up, right? Because a lot of the we're talking about career ending, but nobody's talking about we know what's happened at F1. We know what's happened in golf with Live Golf.
Yep.
We know what's happened with PSG over the years, and we know what's happening at Newcastle. But for some reason, The talk of going over there, you've seen these interviews. I'd not long just watched that Netflix documentary on the PGA Tour, Full Swing, and obviously they picked the perfect time to do the documentary because it was all the live golf thing was happening.
Yep.
Now the main guys that went over there, like the big names. Now obviously a couple of the guys. Now I don't know how many people were really into the golf. I'm only kind of getting myself into it, so I don't really know the big hitters, right? But one of the guys, I could understand why he went over there. The British guy, he went over there because he was at the point now where he's like, I'm not going to win many tournaments with the PGA Tour. I'm probably not going to qualify for them. And if you don't qualify, you don't get paid. So he's been invited over to make millions just to play, just to turn up. I can understand why he went. The other guys were the guys that were, these are guys at the top of their game. They can still win PGA tournaments.
Yeah.
They can win the Open. They can win the US Open. They chose to go over there. Now, they were getting hit with some real hard questions, right, about the morality of them going over there. Now, I haven't seen much of that being discussed in terms of, is Jota aware of and is Carty been a bit aware of the human rights aspect of Saudi Arabia, the sports washing that's going on. Now, I read a really interesting article this morning about sports washing, and I just want to read some quotes from it. Now, please bear with me. I think it's quite important that we discuss it.
Yep.
Now, what is sports washing, right? And I'm sure many of you know what sports washing is, but just for context, okay, sports washing is the act of sponsoring a sports team or an event in order to distract from bad practices elsewhere. Now, beyond hosting events, sports washing has also been used to describe other investments that several oil-rich countries have made in the world of sports, including Qatar's ownership of football club PSG and Saudi Arabia's investment in the Premier League club Newcastle United, which was made from the same fund behind Live Golf. Now, sports washing is a relatively new term, but has been practiced for generations on international stage. The widespread use of the phrase sports washing in the past year is kind of an explosion of a word. This was a term used by Richard Lapchick, who's the director of the Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sport. So he told Insider, this is where I got the article, that sports washing is when a nation tries to use the love that people have and the passion they have for sports to help them ignore what might be the reality of the politics of the country. Lapchick explained. But while the widespread use of the terms is relatively new, it's been practiced by governments for years. Perhaps the most obvious historical example is the Berlin Summer Olympics hosted by Nazi Germany in 1936. But 4 years before that, the second ever World Cup was hosted by Italy, at the point ruled by fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. Some have been argued that the gladiator battles of ancient Rome was also considered as sports washing. Now, what he goes on to say, right, and this is what was really interesting about it, please bear with me.
Yeah.
It's just a way of describing nations that we feel uncomfortable about.
Yeah.
It's been practiced. Chadwick said, and for me, we often don't know why we feel uncomfortable about these nations. This is not to say that there is not good reason to be uncomfortable with some of the nations accused of sports washing. Rather, there is a distinction of the word identifying between what is widely described as sports washing and what is considered as an exercise in soft power by the international world. Us, soft power is a legitimacy-seeking behaviour. It is seen by many nations around the world as a legitimate pursuit to try and enhance your attractiveness, whereas obviously sports washing is seen as something deviant and therefore somehow isn't seen as globally legitimate means through which to try and shift perceptions. Now, here's the really important bit. Now, this discussion here was about Live Golf, right? This is where I got it from, and this is why I find it really interesting. He says that, when it first started, there was all these pressing questions asked of the golfers. Do you know about the moral, about the human, the treatments of other humans over there, and the killings of the journalist, and the way they treat women, people being killed for their sexuality, all this kind of stuff. But with each pressing tournament that Live Golf had, and each new player that went over to that tournament, making the jump from the PGA, the questions are now less pressing, and they've become easier to answer. And the whole point of it was, well, the strength in numbers. So the more and more tournaments, players from golf, either or the F1, boxing going over there, and now more and more footballers making the jump. Less and less of us are asking the questions about the morality of it all, and that's exactly what sports washing is. Now, you said on the TNF, Phil, that you believe that you could see them push. It was you, Regan, pushing for the World Cup.
Yes,
they are. They're bidding for it.
So this is exactly what you were talking about. And none of us are now questioning about the morality of all. As Jota thought about the morals of going over there, and even myself, I've just went, I'd go. Now, when I take a step back, I kind of go, I didn't even once think about the morality of what's going on over in that country. Now, maybe maybe we could see it again as sports washing, or maybe we could see it as soft power. And I just be interested in what was said in the comments here. What their thoughts are. Did you guys in the comments, are you thinking about his career? What about his career? Or what about the money he's making? None of us are talking about about all the other stuff. And it's just such an interesting topic. On you go, Regan. What do you want to say on what I've just bored you all with for the last 10 minutes?
No, it was a great topic you spoke about there. No, I think the biggest one for me was Newcastle. I mean, the Newcastle fans, right? The Newcastle fans have been deprived of relegation and stuff like that for years and years and years. Now, these guys have now got in the top four for the first time in, 25 years. So these guys are never going to speak up about it. And same with the live thing, right? I mean, no, you speak to anybody at the PGA Tour, they said that they weren't briefed that the two things were going to merge together. And Rory McIlroy was raging because he never got briefed on any, and he was the one sticking up for the PGA Tour. But now he just has to go along with it. And I think that is probably the bad thing for free speech, because a lot of the problems now, guys, is that a lot of these people are just doing it because of the money, and nobody's actually nobody's wanting to say anything bad because everybody else is doing it. It's like a trend, to be honest, David. It's like a trend now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll move on because I just wanted. I'm trying to beef out the conversation, guys. I do my best to try.
It's relevant. What you're saying is relevant.
As
Dave, nobody is questioning the footballers now going over there for all the morality stuff. They're just accepting it. But other sports, as you say, like golf and F1 and boxing and that, there's a lot of hard-hitting questions thrown at them. But nowadays, with the football one, we're all just kind of shrugging our shoulders and going, oh, well, I guess, we can't compete with it. Jota being the example we was talking about there, Celtic are in a position to get 25, 30 million, whatever it is, on the table. We're just going, aye, fine. And, we don't blame Jota for taking alleged 190,000 a week, but it's just the modern football that we live in, the modern world of sport that we live in. This is the way it's going. And as I said in the TNF, look out, this Saudi League could be a new version of the Super League. I've seen somebody earlier on in the comments saying about a worldwide Champions League. Either Saudi teams will start getting invited to play in the UEFA Champions League, or they'll host their own version of the Champions League and start inviting Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, come play in our money-rich tournaments. That's something to keep at. But these are things many years down the line. And as Regan said,
there was a massive outrage when these teams like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Tottenham wanted to make the Super League. There's an absolute outrage that you're destroying football. Yet we're not seeing the same sort of outrage from fans. We're just accepting that Saudi are coming into this. Obviously, you're seeing it on Twitter, if your Twitter's working. That Gary Neville had, what's the saying? Throwing stones from glass houses. It's all right for the Premier League to come and snap up players for ridiculous amounts of money to come and play in their league. That's now, has the likes of a Saudi owner funding it. Nobody's got a problem with that, but obviously as soon as your players start to get snapped up to go to Saudi, it becomes a problem. Anyway, guys, honestly, let's move on. We've spoken about the Saudis and Jota for nearly half an hour now, and I'd like to move on
Sure.
And nobody cares keeps coming up, so that's fine. So let's talk about the players that we're hoping to stay. Well, Celtic have scheduled discussions with Kyogo Furuhashi regarding a new contract extension at Parkhead, according to reports. So Kyogo, is he going to be signing a new contract? Well, according to Football Insider, Celtic are set to hold talks with Furuhashi over the new deal when he returns from his current break in his homeland of Japan. He's been playing alongside his old teammates at Vissel Kobe. Celtic are keen to tie down their prized asset to a new and improved agreement in the hope of fending off outside attention, with the aim being to extend his contract that runs until 2025 by at least one more year. Now, there's the likes of Palace and Spurs that are reported to be interested in Kyogo, alongside Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth and several other unnamed clubs in Serie A and Bundesliga. Furuhashi is believed to be stung by Postecoglou's exit, but it's stated that he is happy where he is and he won't rush into any decisions in the weeks ahead. Regan, does Kyogo deserve improved terms? That's the first question I want to ask. And remember, he's on about 19k per week, according to this outlet here, and he's clocked up a remarkable 26 goal contributions, 23 goals and 3 assists in 31 Scottish Premier League outings last season, whilst recording 85 shots over the course of the campaign. So if he's offered a new contract, should it be on an improved terms, Regan?
Yeah, I think he scored 30 goals last year all in, so I think he deserves it. The one thing I want to throw back at you, David, is do you think Kyogo is a Brendan Rodgers type player?
Yes. Yes,
because I differ from that. I don't think he is.
I just think you have to look at what he said, what Brendan said about the likes of Luis Suarez, Jamie Vardy. You know, very pacey, like the running behind. I think Kyogo would fit Ange's system perfectly, Regan. You know, just make those runs. We'll put it out wide, flash it across the face of goal, you tap it in. But some of those goals, we did see some real brilliant play from Kyogo, including his, obviously, we can look at his movement if you like, but if Brendan sees similarities to the likes of past players that he thrived on using, such as Suarez, I'm not comparing the abilities of Kyogo and Suarez, obviously, but Brendan has used him as an example of the type. It's not just a case of getting a big, strong lad like Dembele up front. He's quite happy to use a mix of strikers. He has Iniacho at Leicester, and he also had Jamie Vardy, who I think Jamie Vardy fitted the more Kyogo mould than the Iniacho mould. So I don't see Brendan wanting to get rid of a player like Kyogo.
No, I don't think he wants to get rid of him, but I'm just saying, I think he might want to upgrade on Kyogo.
Oh, I'm sure he will. We always want to upgrade on the players that we have, but I do think he'll get. I think he'll get out of Kyogo what Ange maybe couldn't, because we know Ange had his way of playing, and it was very that's the way we play, and Kyogo was pivotal in that way we play. But I think we could see Kyogo used slightly differently, and if there's anyone that's capable of doing that, it's Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well. I was just thinking they'd be looking for a more like Mr. Dembele.
Could you see them play to get I always ask that question. Could we see two of them playing up front together?
Aye.
Or maybe even Kyogo coming in, or maybe Kyogo will end up being a winger again, which that doesn't excite me too much. I much prefer him to the middle.
I remember that game at Ibrox where he played winger and he didn't really impress me in that game.
Which is weird because that was his preferred position in Japan, wasn't it? So I always found that quite odd that he seemed to be far better through the middle, yet played most of his career, and obviously got the look in to sign because of how he performed out on the left wing. He certainly doesn't look like we know what he's like. He's not a tricky winger. He's not a guy that's going to take on a man. So I did always wonder how he managed to find himself out there as often as he did, but I never watched or had heard of him before, so I'm not going to try and pretend that I did. Phil, what's your thoughts? Would you be happy to see Celtic at least extend the contract by 1 year? And do you think that Kyogo deserves to be given a bumper deal, to keep him at the club?
Given how crucial he was last season, then by all means, I think he does deserve a bit of an improvement. But we have said before, Kyogo is at that stage now where, he probably has one big move left in him. You'll be seeing players obviously going to bigger leagues and that, bigger money, and he is at that stage now in his career. Because once it seems for some big league teams, once you hit the magical number 30 as your age, that's it. You're basically dead. That's it. You're no good to them now. So he is getting close to that. So is he at that stage where he's got one big move to another club in Europe, or does he stay for a few years? I think he would actually be quite happy to stay for a few years, to be honest. I don't think he is too motivated by playing at I think he comes across as being quite happy here. Definitely enjoys his time. You can tell just by his demeanour and that he loves playing for this club. And after what he did last season, if he sticks around and Brendan can obviously keep that form up in him, then by all means, a good Kyogo is a useful, very, very useful asset to the team. So I'd be more than happy to see him stay. But yeah, it's that whole point where Celtic need to look at the business hat will be put on in the Celtic boardroom, where it's like, well, he's sort of at his sort of prime value moment. Is this the time that we sell him? That's going to be part of it as well. But I think the player himself, I think he would be happy to stick out here. I could see him staying for a few years, but I guess it will all fall into the club as well if they think right now's the time to cash in on him. But I think he's very, very useful to keep around. Obviously, he's a good player. It goes without saying.
I think with the age that Kyogo is, I think I would believe this is the window to sell him if we are going to sell him. It doesn't sound like Celtic are wanting to. If he does stay another season, I agree. I think he stays out, the bulk of the rest of his career before heading back to Japan. He'll stay at Celtic because if he doesn't move this summer, he is going to be 29 this year. I don't see an English Premier League club coming in for him next year, unless Celtic are happy to see how they get on in the Champions League, and then maybe sell him in January. I think I'd like him to stay. Now, I'm seeing a lot of comments here about a £16 million transfer fee we're going to pay for
somebody. Has worded this comment on the screen. He's described it as a transfer swoop. And from my experience of reading things in the news, usually Celtic don't do swoops. That's one for Rangers transfer bingo. There's always three things with Rangers transfer that a player jets in. They always swoop for a player, and they always knock back Real Madrid, Man United, and all these other teams.
So is this Fabian Raider? Is this Fabian Raider guy we're talking about? Right, okay, I've got him. I've actually got him here. So let's get talking about this silly season. As we know, we're getting linked to everybody. There's a couple of names.
16 million. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So £60 million for a player. Social media has been set ablaze on Saturday evening by the name of Fabian Raider. The 21-year-old young boys midfielder is in all action, has earned glowing reviews for his displays with his club and Switzerland's under-21 team, where he is starring against Spain for his national team. WhatsApp must be on fire with Twitter on the ropes, but Raider is trending in Glasgow area despite Eon's desire to keep punters on the outside. You can tell I'm only reading this for the first time. So £16 million for a Swiss under-21 international player. I've never heard of him. Regan, have you heard of this guy?
No, he's not been on my radar, Ryder. But I think he would. I think from what you're saying there, he sounds quite promising. See, in terms of midfield there, with the one player I would try and go inside. I would get down there in a plane and go and speak to him. Is Scott McTominay. I really would. I would go and speak to him because people, right? I want to get your thoughts on this, right? But I think Scott McTominay is a better player than Declan Rice. And they're talking about Declan Rice for £105 million. That's crazy money.
Right, where do you start on this one? Because McTominay's playing very, very well for Scotland anyway. With Man United, I know Man U are a bit up and down. And it seems every time Man U have a bad result, McTominay is always the ones that Roy Keane goes all in on with a two-footer or his punditry at the end. It's usually De Gea, Maguire, and McTominay always seem to get it, double barrels from Roy Keane. But I don't really watch much of Man United, but yeah, they do seem to have up and down results. But for Scotland at the moment, he's playing very, very well, and he's playing a more attacking role than what he would usually play for
Yeah,
United, but McTominay is playing really well. And is he better than Declan Rice? Again, it's the nationality thing. You know, we've talked about this before on the Sunday Blether and that. You know, you put like Portuguese as a nationality, or if a player's Portuguese, they're going to get a lot more interest because they've got a sexy nationality than say somebody from like, I don't know, South Africa or something. Just Scotland, England. England is obviously the more sexier option, so that'll boost Declan Rice up. Declan Rice, I think, is a good player, but is he worth that type of money? No.
1 year left in
definitely
his
not.
contract, Phil. 105 million for a player.
Yeah.
1 year left in his
Yeah.
contract. If that boy had stayed at Ireland, you'd be getting about 30 million for that.
Mhm. But the problem is
Well,
with the
maybe more than
McTominay thing,
that,
I know,
but
is,
exaggeration.
and
Bit
again,
more
this
than
comes the way McTominay's playing, and because you get that EPL tax on him, Regan. If we suggest to go in for McTominay, naturally a lot of fans will be like, "Oh, but it's going to cost us about 30 million to get him." And again, it's that EPL tax, still an absurd amount of money. I can't see Celtic getting him now. A couple of years ago, Regan, before he found this purple patch for him, I think McTominay would have been quite a signing. But have we been linked to him a couple of years ago when he was sort of like, you know, quite low down the pecking order? I don't think a lot of fans would have been too enamoured by it, but he's definitely, Steve Clark's got something out of him. He definitely seems to work in certain systems, and yeah, he's playing very, very well at the moment. But I think he is about, there you go, talk about McTominay going to West Ham. So he'll be the replacement for Declan Rice in that case.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and with Moisey, he's still in charge there. I think that's I think that's quite an obvious one. I think that does, you know, if you join the dots there, I think that's probably the most plausible. 30 million plus. I mean, this is the thing, like, you're talking about a player, at the end of the day, he's maybe not the most fancied player at Man United, but he starts most games.
Mm-hmm.
He starts most games.
Well, I think he's brilliant.
You're not getting a guy that's starting at Man United to come to Celtic. And more to do with the price that they'd want, because remember, Ten Hag's only getting £100 million to spend this year. Only 100 million.
Well, in English football terms, that's chump change for them. That
exactly. So they're going to want the most. So if he wants to be spending more than 100 million, he has to get a big chunk of change to do that. And I think 30 million plus to West Ham when they've just got 105 million for Declan Rice. I think, you know, you're talking wages as well. Somebody's saying 60k a week. I mean, it's hardly 196k a week. Come on, to fuck. So I'd love maybe on loan, but I don't want to go down this route of guys getting guys on loan again. That would go. I just feel like it's, you know, we're talking about Keiran Tierney on loan, so it's going to get a bunch of guys back on loan that are only going to be here for a year.
I would carry that, David, and say, well, I think McTominay takes you to the next level in Europe as well.
Yeah, mate, but you're probably right. He does. I just don't think Celtic are willing to spend 60k a week and spend 30+ million on him. That's just not going to happen. So either get him on loan for one season and pay half the 60k a week, and and we have him for a year, and then we're back to square one. I don't know. I'd like to see McTominay in a Celtic shirt. I just trying to put on that head, which is the head that we all kind of moan at. Don't be that guy. Let's dream a little bit. You know, like Boyce is right. Let's dream. Why can't we get a McTominay in? Well, I just think when it comes to when you really look at what he's getting paid at Man United and how often he got played at Man United, it's a big ask to get a McTominay. I'm being honest. It's like trying to say, well, why don't we just try and get John McGinn again? It's like, well, we're not going to get John McGinn either. He's now a captain at Aston Villa.
John McGinn has just signed a new contract at Villa to make him even more valuable.
You know, and this is the thing. Aston Villa, Brighton, these guys, they've all jumped up a level in the last couple of years. You know, it used to be like, come on, Brighton, we can't get we're better than Brighton. We are a bigger club than Brighton. But we just can't go, like, they're now competing in Europe. They've now got to that level. They've got a very, very good manager, very good players. It's becoming more and more difficult. I mean, a Brighton is probably now more an attractive place to go for a McTominay than going to Celtic for a year on loan. I think.
See, in terms of Brendan coming back in, Brendan's not coming back in to get a Tilly on a 5-year contract for the A-League. So who's he coming in to sign?
Sorry, but you cut out for me there. Can you say that again?
I'm saying, see, in terms of Brendan Rodgers, right? You will hear me?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, where you go?
I'm saying Brendan is not coming back in to get a 21-year-old from the A-League. Who's he coming back in to sign?
It's a very good question, mate. I just don't believe that it's that level of funds. He's gonna. It's not a case that he doesn't want them. I think it's just a big ask to try and get a player like that to come to Celtic. He's going to have to take a wage cut. We're talking about Keiran Tierney. Everyone was saying he needed to take a wage cut, and it's not just a case of a wee wage cut. The guy's on what's Keiran Tierney on out there? Apparently around about 60 million.
60 million. 60, wow, lucky him.
Whoa, £60,000 a week out there. You're talking. I'm dropping at least half his wages. It's just I think I'm not the only one that's saying he's just not going to do that. We're talking about why would Jota turn down going out to Sunday for that kind of money? Well, it goes the other way around as well. Why would a player drop that amount of wages as well? Now, Regan, I'm totally in agreement with you, by the way. Brendan wants to sign good caliber player that can help us in the Champions League. I think he's just going to be a bit more cute about it than just going for a guy that's played 25 appearances for Man United last year. You know, I think you're looking at now. Yes, it's lazy links. I'm only using them as an example because it's relevant. We're talking about Ndidi. Is Ndidi a good a player as McTominay? I think so, but he's been relegated to the Championship. Leicester need to sell. You can get him for $8 million.
Yeah,
and then you can afford to maybe spend a bit more on his wages.
That would be a fantastic signing because there was a few years ago when Ndidi was linked to Manchester United, Manchester City, and that. So I think Ndidi would be a great signing, and it would take
Southampton, yes, relegated. There are good players in that team. I'll say it again. I still think Che Adams would be a good signing for Celtic. I totally believe that. I believe that. I think Che Adams would be a very good signing for Celtic. You know, when he played for Birmingham in a more attacking team, yes, Championship level, banged the goals in. He scored important goals for Scotland when we are on the front foot. He holds the ball up well. He's strong. He's quick. He's played at a high level. I think he is the kind of player, yes, relegated. However, a very, very poor Southampton team. He can't be blamed for the goals conceded. Yes, he could be blamed for not scoring enough. But I think Southampton were awful last season. I still believe he's a good player. I'm just picking names that I like, that I think are at a Premier League level, that were unfortunate to be relegated. And because they were relegated, they become a bit more of an affordable player. If Southampton didn't get relegated, you're not looking at signing Che Adams, even if they only just stayed up. Again, you could go back to. I mean, look at. Let's go back to Leicester. Spurs signed James Maddison for 40 million. If they didn't get relegated, you're talking 60, 70 million. Is James Maddison that less of a player than Declan Rice?
I've got an example for you, a Celtic one that's relevant. Who did we sign Scott Sinclair from?
Swansea.
Aston Villa.
What happened to Aston Villa in the summer that we signed?
They were relegated. Yep. We didn't sign for Man City. A lot of fans think we signed him. He was one of the City group type things that we exploited. He was actually at Aston Villa and they just get relegated. And he did all right. So I know there's a lot of fans are saying, we don't want just these relegation cast-offs and stuff. But at the same time, though, you just used the term there, lazy links. Because we're so exposed to English football, we can't escape it thanks to Sky and BT Sport. When it comes to the English Premier League tax, essentially, there is going to be a bump in prices regardless. The marquee signings that we're thinking about is probably could end up coming from leagues that we don't know. Like it could be Germany, France, or something like that. There could be a player out there that we end up spending a significant amount on. Because obviously our record signings on St Edward that came from the French league. But again, it's just because when we're trying to speculate, because that's all you can really do at this point until Celtic give us some concrete links. Something comes out there. All we can, it's easy to just look at England, just looking down south because again we're so exposed to it. But yeah, I do think Brendan will
be looking to bring Marquis, because what Regan originally said about the Tilio thing, Tilio was it was just coincidental where we were negotiating this deal for Tilio at the same time that this Jota deal's come along. So a lot of fans have looked at the optics of it and have thought that Tilio must be the replacement for Jota. I just think it's just coincidental. I think that the club are smart enough to know that they're going to need to get some marquee signings in with the money that we make from this transfer, if it's indeed going through. And yeah, see, we're just looking at England again because it's too easy to look at England. But yeah, the big signings could come from Spain, from Germany, from France, from Italy. Who knows? There'll be something out there. I mean, this all started because somebody said in the comments, why he's talking about players that we can't afford. This whole part of the conversation began from somebody saying we're linked to a player for 16 million from the Swiss league. So that's how we went down this rabbit hole of talking about players. A 16 million pound from the Swiss league. I mean, these are the type of things that we could end up surprising us this summer. Where we end up getting our players from and spending pretty big on them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also seeing. I don't remember. Did anybody mention James Ward-Prowse?
James Ward-Prowse was mentioned, but I think Stephen Ray came in reply and said he's linked to like a £50 million move or something like that.
I don't rate him. He's got a good left peg, and that's about it.
Good free kick taker, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's.
Am I right saying that James Ward-Prowse is reaching the magical number 30 as an age, and that's like, as I say, you're dead in England at that point. So who knows?
I mean, yeah, like peg leg Lonergan. Sorry, butchered your name. Nobody's. It is all fact to say that we are just naming players using examples of they're pretty. Let's be honest, they're not the top level players, but they're very, very expensive in today's market. That's the point. Nobody's saying that we need to sign James Ward-Prowse. I would never sign James Ward-Prowse. You can go to Newcastle for 50 million. Yeah. No, God, no, he's awful. Come on, good free kick taker. That's about it. Yeah. Sorry, Regan, on you go.
Do you think Brendan will try and upgrade on Joe Hart, or do you think he'll?
Yes.
For one more year.
Yes, he will. I think Joe Hart knows it as well, hence why he's very, very, very active on social media. I can't wait for next year. I can't wait. Pick me, Brendan. Pick me. I think Joe knows that as well. Listen, I'm not saying Joe's not a good enough player. I think he's more than shown that he's still a top level goalkeeper. For us, I do feel though that Brendan will be looking to upgrade him soon enough. And I think a lot of people are in agreement that we need to be looking to look for an upgrade in the goalkeeping position. And I think Joe Hart knows that too. Who that is, I do not know. There's a lot of Connor on the bus. He keeps sharing about a goalkeeper from Spain. Is it Villarreal's goalkeeper? Was he not in the goals for Georgia? Is it that player he was talking about?
Georgia, they're very topical in Scottish football at the moment, aren't they?
Mavashvili, yes, I know him.
Right, I don't know if that's who Connor was talking about, but I did see his name get mentioned at some point, and it was, or maybe was it a Czech goalkeeper? Anyway, there's a goalkeeper that's going around for £6 million, and Connor's touting that we go for him. I don't know.
This one is it Livakovic, the Dynamo?
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So I think he's been touted a lot. Connor's banging his drum, so he's maybe heard more about him. So I'm sure Connor will discuss that when he's
a Croatian international, by the way.
Well, get him signed. There's another player.
He loves a Croatian international.
But here's a perfect example, guys. Right, of a player that social media really want us to go for. Now I'm going back to Southampton last year. They signed 2 players for ridiculous amounts of money that had never kicked a ball for Man City. They'd only played for the under-21 team or their B team or whatever you want to call them. Okay, they spent a lot of money on 2 of these players. I think it was around 20 million each. Carlos Borges, he's a Portuguese player. So his stats in the EPL 2 for Manchester City appear to be something of a cheat code with 29 goals and 4 hat-tricks. And that is a winger with a boatload of assists to boot. But the path to the promised land of playing for Manchester City and Pep Guardiola in the first team is a challenge for any player. And it appears that the 19-year-old Portugal youth international will likely leave the Etihad either on loan or on a permanent deal with an option to buy back included. Now, he's being linked with Palermo. Now, did you say last night that they are part of the City group?
Palermo are part of the City group. Yes, they are. How convenient is that?
Yep, Norwich, Nottingham Forest, and Leicester are all on his trail. He's a wanted man, but you're looking around 11 million minimum for a 19-year-old that's never kicked a ball in the Premier League, only in the EPL 2. So, is that the Championship? Is that what they call it on the site, or they got a B team?
They've got their own sort of reserve league, which is what
so they've got a B team league, right? So he's only played B team football. He's never played in any sort of first team in the big leagues. You're looking at £11 million player on a winger, 29. Now, you discussed last night at length, Phil, how well these guys have done for Celtic, but I've never kicked a ball for City. Could this be another one, and does that excite you?
Going on the track record, and obviously I talked about it on Friday night, players coming in from Man City's reserves seem to do all right for us. It's just weird that they never seem to make an impact going back to City. See, Jason Denayer, he did really well for us. Ended up going at captain Lyon and Ligue 1, played for Galatasaray as well. Patrick Roberts was phenomenal for us. It's just a shame that he went back down there apparently with promises of getting first team football, and then he just did the City group system. He went to Troy, he went to Girona on loan. Nowadays he's at Sunderland. I think he's transferred full time. So the track record so far is most of these players that we've brought in over the years through the City group links seem to do well for us. But yeah, obviously the concern is what they do for us, and I don't think it's that much of a risk. He's very highly. I've seen the same player you're talking about, Borges, getting touted all over the place. I don't think it's a bad idea, to be fair, because again, the track record proves these players can come in and do well for us. So yeah, and the step up is obviously in European football. Obviously, can they do it there? Because it's all well and good playing against like St Mirren and Motherwell and stuff like that, but the test will be in European football. Will he be something that can take us to the next level? But again, by all accounts, it seems like he is pretty good. But yeah, I think the track record shows that bringing in these players, don't be put off by the fact he's only played in the Man City reserves. Man City's like reserves and their setup and their whole network is world class. What we talked about on Friday night, where while we're not officially part of the City group, but evidently we have obviously an inroad with them, being Mark Lowell. It's not the worst sort of a group to be, tapping into. They're definitely very well run and very well organised. Their network, their scouting's phenomenal, and they have all these players coming onto their books, or these youngsters, for a reason, because they are good talents. It just so happens that their first team is absolutely unbelievable. So trying to get into that first team is difficult. So I wouldn't be totally against it. You're saying 11 million. I mean, our record right now for a transfer is 9 million, which was on a sort of unproven French striker who, even was on Paris Saint-Germain's books, didn't really play for Paris Saint-Germain. He played for Toulouse on loan, I believe, for a season before that.
So Phil, this is what I liked when Ange first came in, is the guys that we were getting on loan always had an option to buy on them. Now, if City are happy to let there you go. Thank you, Thomas Burns, my wonderful assistant, for bringing that up. I think an option to get him on loan with an option to buy would be beneficial, because I don't want to spend £11 million on a player that is going to be a very high. I think it's maybe a high risk, high reward. Yeah. But there's a risk regardless. You're going to spend £11 million on a player that's never really kicked a ball for that anyone's seen. Let's say. It's for Celtic, that's a lot of money to spend on a player that we don't really know much about. But if we could get him in on loan with an option to buy, and even if it is 11 million, then sound, I'll take that. And if it doesn't, try before you buy. I like that. It worked for Jota. It worked for Cameron Carter-Vickers. I do not see why if that is a player that we are interested in, or if City are willing to send him out to one of their other City group teams.
The track record to say shows that even if the boy, if we did, let's say we did that right, we did bring him on loan with us, we get him for 11 million in a year's time if we decide to exercise that right. The track record shows that even if he came up here and had an absolutely excellent season for us, Man City are not very likely to go, right, we'll have him back because he's coming into our first team. they would just be bringing him back probably to loan him to another team. But if they've got a guaranteed 11 million that Celtic would be willing to put down, I think they would go with that. But there would probably be some kind of clause in it where if he continues on that, trajectory, either it's going to be they'll get a big cut of the next sell on, or there will be some sort of buyback clause. But so far the track record's shown with our relations with Manchester City that all these players that we have brought in over the years, no matter how well they've done for us, they never even get a sniff of the Man City team. So, but I would be open to something like that. Yeah, a loan with option to buy is definitely good to do. Try before you buy, essentially.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's us hit the hour mark, and I think it's maybe best that we wrap this up because I have ran out of players that we're apparently linked to. So we'll keep. You
could talk about the fixtures if you want to talk about the fixtures.
The fixtures. Oh, of course, the fixtures are out. Well, Regan, let's talk about some fixtures then.
Aye, let's go for it.
Are you happy to see that we're starting off against Ross County at home?
I hope to Ross County, probably the best fixture we can get. 60,000 there for Brendan Rodgers. Ross County relegation almost last year. If Partick Thistle didn't bottle it with 20 minutes to go, I think Brendan Rodgers will be pretty happy with that. Obviously, I looked at the first 7 games. Probably the toughest game is away to Aberdeen, away to Rangers. But I think overall, to David and Paul, I'm looking forward to the new season and what Brendan Rodgers will be able to serve up.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that was maybe, and I'm bringing it back around to the Jota chat quickly, as I think that's been my biggest disappointment if Jota goes. Is I really wanted to see what Brendan did with the likes of with Jota. And I just remembered I did have a quote from Brendan that I wanted to read. I just wanted to finish off with this, right, and just ask you if it's aged well in the last week after hearing about all the potential outgoings and signings that we've made so far. When I was here the first time, there was a brilliant recruitment team in place. I look at Mark Lowell and the work that he's done since he's been here, and it's set up perfectly for a club like Celtic to work in the markets that they need to be working in, and you can see the players that they have been brought in and through his recruitment team. That for me is very important, and I've come into a club for one of the very few times in my career where it has an upward feel to it. I've gone into clubs who have maybe been suffering, or teams that have been suffering, and I've come in and picked them up. I've come in to pick it up. Here I come in with a great foundation on the back of the great work that Ange Postecoglou did here over the last couple of years, and I will continue with that. Now, just quickly before we go, has that quote aged very well in the last week when we're seeing the likes of Jota leaving and the uncertainty of the replacements and the recruitment, because we still haven't had a real solid link to anybody that Brendan has identified as a player that he wants to build on top of the foundation that was the likes of Jota and Hatate and Kyogo and Cameron Carter-Vickers, who are all being linked to leaving. Yep. And I've yet to see a player that Brendan has identified that is a real serious link. Now there's still plenty of time, so I'm not panicking. But Phil, has that quote aged well?
On face value, no, but it's still one of those that remains to be seen, because obviously he talked about the investment and the transfer policy. So we're still at a point where we'll need to review the comment again at the end of August. I think the Saudi Arabia stuff's just sort of crept up on us. I think we've initially, when it's all been happening, where English-based players are getting poached away, we've kind of thought, oh well, sucks to be you, and then suddenly we've turned our attention to some of our players, and it's like, oh no, didn't you see that coming? We'll just need to wait and see, I guess, come the end of August. Well, one of the quotes that he did say that I think is kind of, I don't know if I would say it's aged badly, but he did talk about how he had lunch with Callum McGregor, and Callum told him how excited and great this squad is, and how hungry they are for success. And then Brendan comes in, and then there's talk of Jota obviously going and Hatate rumoured, and it's like, so a few weeks ago the captain was telling you, what a great group of players you're coming in to take over, and yes, I'm not going, but the jury's still out on the other part of the quote about, the recruitment. I say we need to review that on August the 31st when the transfer window closes.
To play devil's advocate again, David, I think that Brendan's the kind of guy that will be happy to put his own stamp on the team.
Yes,
I think so.
Totally agree with you, mate. I totally agree with you. And somebody even said maybe Rodgers doesn't want Ange's clique. And we'll end it there. We will see you guys next week for some more Sunday Blethering. Take care, guys. Phil, thanks for joining me. Regan, always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday, and you'll see the bus again tomorrow for the Monday Club. Take care.
See you guys.
See you later.